Hello, my name is Melinda Zosh, and I'm a TV reporter in Great Falls, Montana. I work at an ABC Fox affiliate, and I've been here for about the past year, but I've actually worked in the business for a number of years. I started in high school working for my newspaper, and then I worked my way up to eventually working at a TV station during my college years at Liberty University. Now, the reason that I'm talking to you today is because I want to propose a thesis based on my profession. And what I want to talk to you about is how the TV news business is changing. What does this mean for viewers? What does this mean for business owners? What does it mean for those working in the profession? So first, I want to talk a little bit about the history of television. The first TV stations came about in the early 1940s. My research has shown that there were actually 2 affiliates up and operating in the early 1940s at the time of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. At the time when this breaking news came into the newsroom, only a few people were working that day, but they actually did everything they could, gathered their thoughts together, and they started broadcasting to the city of New York. And back then, technology was basically, it was just in its infancy. So my research has shown that one of the reporters who was broadcasting that day, he was actually just standing next to a basic graphic. And he was talking a little bit about the attacks on Pearl Harbor and where they had happened. So by today's standards, more than 70 years later, that would not catch a viewer's attention at all. We have to use fancy graphics. We use something like the television screen behind me that can show video. We use our phones to shoot video. And it's amazing how much technology has changed the way people perceive journalists. So in my thesis, I want to look at not only the history of journalism, specifically TV news and how it's changed over the past few decades, how satellite trucks that came about really in the 70s, 1980s, the invention of those have changed TV news. Also, just how live shots have changed news as well. So with the invention of satellite trucks, we see more reporters going live. Also, in the past 10, 20 years, we've seen more competition than ever before. I work in a television market that's considered pretty small. Nielsen does its ratings every year, and it's based on population size. So there are 210 markets total. Market number 1, of course, is New York City, and my market is number 191. So that's just based on viewership. We have about 60,000 viewers, give or take. Now, on the weekends, we also broadcast out to other parts of the state, so we probably would be up a little bit more on Nielsen's ratings if they calculated those viewers in there as well. So what I want to look at is how are those viewers, how are they changing the way that TV news is operating? Now, with the invention, of course, of Facebook, with more people using their mobile devices, Twitter, Instagram even, how has that changed the way that viewers perceive journalists? Also, with the invention of Facebook Live, I really want to delve into this in my research, even though this is a relatively new concept that just came about this year. We've seen several cases of what I would call citizen journalists who are out on the scene of, say, crimes, even police shootings, and they picked up their phone and they've recorded the scene of those breaking news incidences. So with just an ordinary person without training in journalism, picking up their camera on their phone and using it, how is that even changing journalism? How is that changing the way that people perceive journalists? So what I intend to answer is specifically, how is technology changing the way that the TV news business operates in terms of revenue? In the past, I'd say 10 or so years, based on my research, based on personal experience, I've heard of many stations in smaller markets like this one in Montana that I'm working in that have actually had to shut its doors. Just an anecdotal example would be I interned at a TV station in upstate New York, and they had downsized from a staff of about 20 down to 2 people, and that was in 2010. We're 6 years down the road, 6 years in the future now, and how are TV stations like that even operating? They were at that time pre-recording their news. Well, now in the age where people want everything in the here and the now, how are TV stations going to keep operating with increasing competition from within their own area of TV news stations and also from online resources, online news outlets? So I want to do scholarly research on this topic because it hits close to home for me as a working professional in the business. And I intend to conduct my research in several ways. First, I want to sit down and do what I do best, which is to interview professionals in my field. I would like to talk to the general manager of my TV station here in Montana. I would like to talk to my news director. And I would also like to reach out to other stations as well. We have a sister station called KHQ, which is an NBC affiliate in Spokane, Washington. So I propose sitting down with some veteran anchors and reporters there as well. So I plan on asking them fair, objective questions. I do suspect that since this will be published material, they may not share everything with me. Some materials, some information may be confidential to the company. But I want to hear from their point of view how the TV news business is changing. I also intend to talk to viewers. I want to hear from the people out there in my community here in Montana who are watching the news. I can do that in a variety of ways. I've thought about doing a questionnaire, but I feel like questionnaires aren't as personal as possibly sitting down and doing some research. And I also plan on doing qualitative research. I've contemplated mixed methods, but I think based on how I conduct interviews and my level of research and how I've done that in my profession for a number of years, I feel that qualitative would best fit this study. So in addition to talking to those around me and using my resources that are close to me, I also plan on doing a lot of research online about how the TV news business has changed. And by online, I mean reputable sources. Of course, in this business, we can't just quote anything that's out there on the internet. I can't just quote a random blog and put it on the news. My job is to be accurate as a reporter, and in order to do that, I plan on finding credible resources out there. So, to conclude my proposal to you, I just kind of want to wrap up by talking about a few points that I plan on including in my research. First, I propose that my thesis is about the changing nature of the television business. It's going to kind of hone in on how technology has changed the business, and I feel that I can do a lot of research on Facebook Live and other social media. This research is relevant because it will add new information to the scholarly field of communication that isn't already out there, so I'm adding upon that research, which a thesis is supposed to do. I also feel that this topic is relevant because the news is a part of everyone's lives. Whether you sit at home and watch it with your family as a viewer, whether you're in the profession like me as a reporter, whether you've studied the profession of communications in the past, I feel that this topic is relevant, especially looking forward to the future. How has technology changed the business right now, but how is it going to change the business 10, 15, or even 20 years from now? I want to thank you for your time, for listening to me today. and I am looking forward on doing scholarly research in my field.